It always feels good beating the Donkeys. Give me an F the Donkeys down below. The Las Vegas Raiders just won 27-14 over the Denver Broncos in Week 18. I'll tell you this right now. Did this game really mean anything for the Silver and Black? No. It meant pride. And the fact that the Raiders were able to go out there and play for their head coach, and another game this season where they did not commit a single penalty yet again. So in the 9 games that Antonio Pierce has coached this season, head coach, the Raiders, 2 out of 9 games, did not commit a penalty. This is one of the best coached teams in the NFL from a committing a penalty standpoint. And I'll get into some of the ins and outs of why Jimmy Garoppolo went in the game, because honestly, that's my biggest takeaway from this game. Jimmy G stepped on the field, and he was actually in this game, which to me hurts Antonio Pierce's chances more to be the Raiders head coach than them actually winning this football game. But at the end of the day, man, you're able to take care of business against Denver. It's been 1,470 days since the Broncos have defeated the Raiders. In fact, the Denver Broncos have never beaten the Las Vegas Raiders. And I know that there were some people out there that probably wanted the Raiders to lose this game to get a better draft pick. But you know what? Be able to keep that streak going up against one of your rivals, I know next season I'm going to be feeling pretty damn good about it. So give me an F the Donkeys down below. Raiders get the dub in a game that, this is important because if you believe in karma, which I do, you're able to go out on the season on a high note. You're able to ride into the 2024 offseason on a high note. But it's the fact that in a game that doesn't mean anything, you have your team going out there and playing balls to the wall. Jimmy Garoppolo did have to come in for a short amount of time because Aidan O'Connell injured his index finger, and Jimmy G had to just come in because he was the only quarterback available. But one of the things that I said when I was live, and I will stick to this because I will say this through and through, the fact that Antonio Pierce put Jimmy Garoppolo in the game tonight was the worst decision that Pierce has made as a head coach in the NFL to date. And I said it on Twitter. I would actually consider not hiring AP because of the fact that they put Jimmy G in the game. The Raiders were better off running the Wildcat. The Raiders were better off putting in anybody else not named Jimmy G in this game, because if you're planning on next season, you got to be able to plan it without Jimmy G, right? Like, you can cut Garoppolo next season, post-June 1st cut. You can save $13 million. If Garoppolo would have gotten injured, which I get it, a lot of other quarterbacks don't get injured in a 4 or 5 snap series. But Jimmy Garoppolo, I ain't taking the chance. If Jimmy G would have gotten injured, he would have been on the books yet again. You would have had a backup quarterback making $28 million, and that would have really handicapped the Raiders' ability to win football games in the future. The thing that I am the most upset about with AP is the fact that they put Jimmy G in the game. It was very ill-advised, and I tweeted it out, and I said live here on the show that the Raiders should have made Brian Hoyer active for this game. They didn't because of the exact same situation that you saw. Now, Aidan, once he went back out into the game, had himself a solid game, but it was that small window where Garoppolo was in. I was very, very disappointed in Antonio Pierce there. But here's the thing, man. It's officially, which I can't believe I'm going to say this, it's the Raiders offseason. I had a hell of a year with all y'all. I appreciate each and every one of y'all to the moon and back. I love doing this show. But this is going to be the craziest offseason that the Raiders Report has ever had. It's going to be the craziest offseason that the Raiders have had in quite some time. You're going to be looking for a head coach, a GM, an offensive coordinator, potentially a DC, and a brand new quarterback all in one offseason. In a year that you're going to be picking, I believe, 13th overall in the 2024 NFL Draft, and a year that you're going to be top 10 in salary cap money, the Silver and Black have an opportunity here to put yourself in a much better position going forward and to make sure that you don't miss anything around head coaching updates, because our team right now is literally at the college football playoff talking to Jim Harbaugh on a daily basis. You're not going to find anybody more covered around Raiders head coaching news than what the Raiders Report is going to give you. So make sure you're subscribed. When you think about what Aidan O'Connell was able to do today, 20 of 31, 244, and 2 touchdowns and 0 interceptions, Aidan had some good flashes. He also showed that he's just not the guy. And when you go back and you look at the box score warriors, and when I say box score warriors, there's going to be people out there like, oh, Aidan O'Connell himself a great game. No, he didn't. He was a C at absolute best. He missed open receivers. He showed that he is, yet again, just a backup quarterback in the NFL, which is okay. For a fourth-round guy coming out of Purdue, he's going to have himself a long career in the NFL. Honestly, he reminds me a lot of a guy like Jarrett Stidham, where you watch him and you go, he's a backup. That's okay. Going to make millions of dollars being a backup in the NFL. Hell, I'm jealous of Aidan O'Connell, but that's all he is. And a game like today shows when you see Jarrett Stidham and Aidan O'Connell play football, they're just backup QBs in the NFL. But I know I'm going to get asked this question, and I'm going to ask all of y'all as well. I want you to grade the play of Aidan O'Connell against the Denver Broncos. A, B, C, D, or F. A, thought he played great. B, good. C, average. D, terrible. F was the fail. For me personally, I'm going to give Aidan a C grade. I think if this was a game that you actually needed to win, I would have been a little bit nervous because to me, Denver totally quit in this football game on Sean Payton a little bit. But hey, then again, I'm going to give this one a C grade. In terms of Zamir White, he had himself 25 carries, 112 yards, 0 touchdowns. He had a long of 25, but his ability to show that he's actually able to run between the tackles, able to really pick up solid yards. And what I'm most impressed about Zamir is the more and more work he gets, the better and better he gets. In the 3 games leading up to this one, he had 59 carries for over 200 yards. I want to say 259 yards and a touchdown. Like, the more and more work he gets, the better and better he gets. And I'm telling y'all right now, if anybody wants Josh Jacobs back next season, I asked y'all on social media early in the week, what would you pay him? The most I am willing to give Jacobs is about $7, maybe $8 million a year. I'd say Jacobs, here's 3 years, $21 million with $14 million guaranteed. If that's not good enough for you, hasta la vista, baby. You bring in Zamir White, maybe you can get a running back like Blake Corum. One player who definitely impressed me today was Trey Tucker. And, you know, when we talk about Tucker, people only talk about his north and south. We know that he's a speedster. We know he has good acceleration. But today, he really showed his growth from the route running tree perspective. I mean, his route running tree today was pretty damn good. Like, in Tucker, if he can really put that together, where he can show, like, hey, man, I can run comeback routes. I can run the deep outs. I can do the sluggos. I can go post. I can run on the seam. I can go a short, quick little intermediate route. That's where he's going to get better and better because 5 for 79 along of 47. Every time Trey Tucker's out there on the field, you do some of that pre-snap motion, he has that threat to go deep. That opens up the offense entirely. Davante Adams today, 5 for 46 and a touchdown. Davante has 4 straight seasons over 100 catches. He just continues to show that he's one of the best in the biz. He did have a pretty bad drop today, but again, I'm not really going to harp on that all too much because the Raiders got a dub. If this was an important game, and Davante would probably step up here on the show and say, you know what, yeah, I definitely dropped the ball that I should have caught. Davante Adams, I hope to see you back next season, my brother. All right, man, we got more takeaways from this game, but remember, our show is presented by Prize Picks, and if you haven't already, go get started with our awesome sponsor here at prizepicks.com/CLNS, and make sure that you use code CLNS for a first-time deposit match up to $100. If you're wondering, Mitch, why is it CLNS? Honestly, I don't really have an answer for you. It's just what they want me to tell you. But here's the thing. When you use code CLNS, that tells Prize Picks that we sent you from the Raiders report. So all you got to do is pick 2+ players, choose more or less on your picks, and I didn't want to really do anything from the NFL games. What I really wanted to do is from the College Football National Championship, which Jeremy Chuggs and I, we're going to be live tomorrow for Washington, Michigan. Make sure you're tuned in. We're going to go live probably 90 minutes before kickoff because we're going to go live, just talk about some Raider stuff as well. But more or less, Michael Penix Jr., give me the more on that. Blake Corum, less than 105 rushing yards. Roan, I think he's one of the best in the biz. Give me the more on that for receiving touchdowns. And then J.J. McCarthy, rushing and passing yards at 22.5. Give me the more on that as well. And if anybody wants to put their money where their mouth is on Prize Picks, it's easy, it's simple. If my dad can do it, you can do it. And if you have an opportunity to sit down for 2 to 3, 4 hours, you put down $10 and you're occupied in today's day and age for 3 hours. I mean, that's That's money well spent. I can't even think of anything in today's day and age where you can put down $10 and you're occupied for 3 hours with a chance to win up to 25 times your money. There's a reason why PrizePicks is the #1 daily fantasy sports app. Go get it started. Go try it out at prizepicks.com/CLNS. Let's go to Aaron. Are we worried about the Broncos taking the quarterback we want? I wouldn't really say so unless the Broncos trade up. Like, here's the thing. The Raiders, where they're picking right now at number 13, you're not going to get Drake May. You're not going to get Caleb Williams. Your best hope, I would say, is Jaden Daniels. However, you got to trade at number 3, right? Like, if you go to 13-3, I would say that that's going to cost you 3 first-round picks, probably a second, a third, and maybe like a fifth in total value to get up to number 3. Maybe Denver decides to go up and get a little bit more, or you trade a third-round pick for a guy like Justin Fields, or you go out and get a guy like Russell Wilson at $1.21 million, or you draft a guy like Michael Penix Jr., Bo Nix. I mean, in the second roundish type of area. Scott O'Brien, bittersweet win. I think any win against the Broncos is a sweet win. I get people that wanted probably one of those 3 quarterbacks that I just mentioned, and Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams, or Drake May, just because of what it's going to take now for the Raiders to go up and get one of those guys. But anytime you can beat a division rival, I believe in karma, and you can ride out into the season on a high note, that's always a good thing. Blake Dufresne, only guarantees in life, death, taxes, and the Raiders beating the Broncos. I hear you. It's been December 29, 2019, the last time Denver took down the Raiders. Suicide. Everyone in the stands was chanting, "We want AP." It was very clear. Oh, I know. I could hear it. I mean, I tweeted it out at Mitchell Renz 365. You could hear it clear as day. Raiders want AP. Raider Nation wants AP. Davante Adams wants AP. Maxx Crosby wants AP. Will Mark Davis, listen, as far as I'm concerned, I think it is a two-way race. It is between Jim Harbaugh and Antonio Pierce. Those are your 2 front runners to be the next Raiders head coach. And I want to know from all y'all, who would you pick? Type AP for Antonio Pierce. Or if you'd rather have Jim Harbaugh as the Raiders' next head coach, I want you to type JH. Because if I'm Mark Davis, I got to listen to the fan base. I got to listen to my players. And not only just the players, you got to listen to your leaders, right? Like, you got to listen to Davante. You got to listen to Maxx Crosby. And those are the guys that you're trying to build something around. And if you don't go in this AP direction, I'm going to be a little bit confused. But the fact that this team is playing solid football, not committing turnovers, playing the best defense that we've seen in a long time. I mean, right now the Raiders entering this game, we're giving up on average 19.8 points per game. That's obviously going to go even lower after the Broncos only scored 14. But the last time our Raiders defense gave up less than 20 points in a season, you got to go all the way back to 2002, y'all. 2002, the Raiders made the playoffs. If you're a believer that defense wins championships, I think you bring in AP. I'll tell you this, though. The only way I'm keeping Antonio Pierce is if you can keep Patrick Graham. If Patrick Graham ain't here, I'd rather go Jim Harbaugh over Antonio Pierce. Believe that. Vedrick! Bang! He wants AP. If you want the Raiders to bring back AP, spam it down below. Carter Harlow. AP went 3-1 in our division. That's what matters. Got a dub against the Chiefs, right? Like, I think one of the biggest reasons why I was up here on the show spamming AP and that he deserved it, I really, really, truly believe that Antonio Pierce does deserve to be the next Raiders head coach. I do. I think that you need to be able to interview some candidates, which you absolutely should. On the show that I did on Saturday, I said the top 3 guys that I am going to interview for the Raiders head coaching position. The first guy I interview, Antonio Pierce. I let him state his case, let him talk it through. Second guy I interview is actually Patrick Graham. And I say, hey, if I'm able to keep both of y'all, I'm going to give both of y'all a raise, and that's where we're going to go. If I can get AP and Patrick Graham to agree that they're both going to be coming back for the Raiders for next season, that's the move I make. If I'm not confident in what they tell me, then I interview Jim Harbaugh, and I let him state his case. Those are the first 3 interviews the Raiders should do. Vincent, 8 dubs in a row against the Broncos. It's a beautiful thing, man. The fact that the Broncos have never beaten the Las Vegas Raiders makes me laugh. Look forward to Sierra and her husband in silver and black. I really don't think this is going to happen. I would be absolutely shocked if the Raiders went with Russell Wilson. However, there is an opportunity because you could pay Russell Wilson at $1.21 million. I'll tell you this right now. I'd rather pay Russell Wilson $1.21 million in 2024 than roll with Aidan O'Connell again. That I can promise you. Douglas, AP has defeated all 3 division rivals. Cool. I get it. Cool. 5-4. But you failed to score any points against the Vikings. And again, I judge AP based more on what the defenses look like. And since the defense has taken over with AP, it's been significantly better. Nobody's gonna dispute that. But I really, really want them to keep a Carmen Brasillo, a guy like Edgar Bennett. I really want them to keep a guy like, a Rob Leonard, a Jason Simmons. Like, the only way I'm keeping AP is if this staff stays together. And the fact that this staff was told that they could go look at other job opportunities, that makes me nervous. I think if AP, the way that AP gets this job is Patrick Graham returns, Jason Simmons returns, this Raiders coaching staff returns. If it doesn't return, it ain't going to be AP. That I can promise you. Junior, I want AP, but how can we pass on Jim Harbaugh? I mean, the way that you can pass on Jim Harbaugh is because Antonio Pierce has done a solid job. Like, I get Harbaugh as a proven winner. That I get. But what I don't want is another guy that thinks he's better and bigger than everybody else. Like, I would rather the Raiders run an organization with Antonio Pierce, Champ Kelly. You bring in a guy like Trey Brown. You bring in a guy like Marvin Lewis, and it's everybody has a say. It's a democracy, right? You do a democracy where everybody gets a say of what they think is the best opportunity going forward. Because what I don't want is another guy like Jim Harbaugh, where if you hire him, I'm not saying Harbaugh is like McDaniels or Gruden, but they're going to have final say, and they're going to have full say. They're going to be the judge, the executioner. They're going to be everything. And I just don't want the Raiders to go down that path again where you pay a coach like Harbaugh over $18 million a year, because I think that's legitimately what it's going to cost to bring in him, and Harbaugh gets final say. And if you bring in Harbaugh, that means you're going to move on from Patrick Graham, because Harbaugh's going to bring in his own guys. Like, I want the Raiders to keep Patrick Graham. I think keeping Patrick Graham is more important than keeping Antonio Pierce. That's why I look at them as a package deal. If you told me right now Patrick Graham ain't coming back, I'll go Jim Harbaugh. If you told me right now Patrick Graham is going to come back, I'll keep Antonio Pierce. Let's go to Justin Ave, Jim. I'll take 8 wins in a row over the Donkeys. Not the outcome we expected this season, but the future is bright. I'm with Penix despite his injury history. I hear you. I want to see a little bit more out of Michael Penix. I can't wait to see that game tomorrow. Chugs and I are going to be live. But Jim, you're one of the GOATs, bro. I want you to know that. Smith, AP was undefeated against the AFC West. He's earned the job. Go get Fields and win the division next year. Just the question is, what are you willing to give up for Fields? 2nd or 3rd round pick? You let me know. Derek, appreciate you, Mitch, Chugs, and everybody else involved in the Raiders report. Our chat sports team works our freaking dicks off, but we do it because we love being able to hang out with y'all. We love having a good time. We love what the nation brings on a daily basis. I try to bring 110% because I know the nation every single week, man. There's not a doubt in my mind you're going to pull up. My question to you is, though, now that the Raider season's over, are you going to pull up tomorrow? And this is a very important game for the Raiders, and I know a lot of people might laugh at me saying that, but it's the truth, man. This game for Jim Harbaugh and Michigan, it's very important for the Raiders, and we will be live. We will be live. So I got to know who you got. Type W for Washington, type M for Michigan, because I'll tell you this right now, win or lose, Jim Harbaugh is leaving the Wolverines. Win or lose, Jim Harbaugh will not be the head coach of the Michigan Wolverines next season. And if you've been following along with a lot of the stuff that we've been reporting on the show, I can promise you, I'd be willing to bet a lot of money Harbaugh ain't back. But hopefully you pull up, you tune in so when we go live, Washington, Michigan, live here on the Raiders Report tomorrow.